Thank you for your patience. So, okay. So, Reportlink features 9.0. We will go through these 3 key features in Reportlink. I am taking this with a grain of salt that I'm assuming that most of you have some familiarity with Reportlink. I'm not going to start from ground zero, but if you have any specific Reportlink questions, I'm happy to try and answer those at the end. And if I don't have time or it's too in-depth of a question, I am happy to take those away and email you later. Just because pivot tables in Excel are definitely a trial and error process sometimes, and y'all don't want to watch me trial and error over and over again. So send the questions, and I am happy to do my best to answer them today. If not, we will reply to everybody at a later date and get those questions to you tomorrow or the next day. So, okay, these new features. I'm very excited about all of these. This ability to run standard and system reports in Reportlink. So the reports that you're familiar with from timesheets, RPX, are now available in Reportlink. And so you can customize them in Journyx and then go run them in Reportlink. Filtering your data before you transfer it to Reportlink. Historically, we have had to bring down a lot of information from timesheets into Reportlink. We couldn't filter by project, by user, and so on. You had to do that in Excel. So now we can do that in Journyx and then run Reportlink so it's much speedier and quicker. Then finally, it's all in the interface for selecting those feeds or the reports to run. So we're going to look at all of that. So at the end, we'll open it up to Q&A. All right, so I'm going to jump in over to the actual Reportlink timesheet. So as we look into timesheet, there we go. This is where you find you're logged in. Anyone can run Reportlink if they have access to it. They're just going to only still see whatever your Journyx securities will allow you to see. If you go to report, at the bottom you have your Reportlink exchange. Always make sure you have the latest and greatest Reportlink version. You can always check that. Let me show you. I'm going to jump into Excel, about Reportlink. You can click on that. It will tell you what version you're on. The latest we have is 8.9.56. So always make sure that you have that version. And to install it is extremely easy. It will uninstall any old versions of Reportlink that it may have running for you. And just to point out, we have template files that you can use with some canned reports. It's an easy way to get started. And then there are some tutorials and documentation on how to get started with Reportlink, as well as the user's manual, which like I said, I'm making some assumptions that you all have some familiarity, but if not, start there and you'll be way ahead of the game. So looking back, you have standard reports and system reports. As we know, what I've explained, we can now pull those into Reportlink. So if I start with a standard report and create it, let me go down to the bottom, hit create, and I'm just gonna, I've got a couple that I've set up already, but just an example, Reportlink features example report. So you can set a time period, as you know, as well as prompting for the date. So I'm going to say let's run this for, just because I don't, let's run it for 2 years worth of data. And then you can filter by project, pull in a couple specific projects that you want to see and add those to the list. And then if you need to filter by task, by pay type, field types and users, you can do that, just like running any standard report. The other, oh, you know what? Bear with me. I meant to create just a time report. Matrix reports are great too, but I wanted to show you the custom fields that you can now pull in. Okay, so let me pick a few. Here we go. Let's say run for 2 years. And then I'm not going to filter by task or by user, but you could if you only had a specific subset of information. And then the nice thing now is you can pull in custom fields. Let's say I want to see people's email address. And then for a project custom field, let's do the job cost number. There you go. So you could pull in as many custom fields as you would like. I'm just going to go ahead and save this because I want to run it in Reportlink, not in timesheet at the moment. Then I can jump over to my Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to pull up a new workbook. Where did we go? Come on. So I'll just add a new tab here. Okay. So this should look familiar. You have your username, the URL, which I've already logged in, and then the date range. I set the date range in the specific report that I would like to run. So I don't necessarily need to modify this, but I could if I wanted to, where you can put in a very specific date range. It will pull down records from the state specified or only records since my last download. But this is the new fun area where it says new. Click on that, and then you select a report, and all of the original feeds from Reportlink live here that may or may not look familiar to you. And those feeds will still pull down all of the information specific to that feed. So you have not been able to pull all the expenses against every project, every user, and so on. So you're going to get a huge amount of data for that specific time period, and you manage it by reducing the time period. And then you can take it from there, turning it into a pivot table, and so on. But if we go down to your standard reports, these are all listed here. So even the ones that we just set up, so I should, here we go, the standard Reportlink example report. I'll select that. I can rename it if I need to. And then, and that's whatever name this tab is going to take. And then what you can select, do I want a pivot table or do I want a worksheet? The difference, and I'll show you the two, the worksheet is just going to pull down that information. And then we'll think about it for a second. It'll look like a worksheet, an Excel worksheet. The pivot table will be a pivot table that you can create, and then those modifications will stay. So every time I want to refresh this amount of data, it will just pull in that information again and override this worksheet. But with the pivot table, you refresh the data, and the formatting that you have done within that pivot table stays. So this is a filtered amount of information. We're only seeing the projects that I selected in that information. We're also seeing well, we're not seeing the custom fields that I added, that I pulled in. So let me see, where did those go? Well, let's jump over to a different report, just for the sake of time, where I have pulled in the job cost number. And so I can clear that data, pick it again, and this is the one that I'm running. Hit worksheet, hit create. Oh, no, I just need to refresh. Bear with me. So there we go. So it doesn't allow you to duplicate your tab. So the job cost number is one of the custom fields that I'm pulling in. So if I want to pull it into a pivot table, here we go. So same report as a pivot table, just the fields that I selected are here. So then I can go through and decide where I want the data to show up. Hours always need to be at the value. We'll put the project. So just as an example, so this format will stay, and anytime I need to refresh the data to pull in additional information, I can do that. So it won't completely wipe out my formatting that I've done. So then that is our standard reports. You'll see that you have quite a few standard reports. You have the time, expense, and your mileage standard reports that you can run from. One thing we did mention was you also have your system report. Just to point out where those live, report, system report. You have the option, and system report is configuration data. It's the dump of all of your users and all of the custom fields attached to them. It's the dump of projects, who's been assigned to what approval plan, who has what role, and so on. You can see what pay types you have listed here and bill types. So if you select your user and project, you can run them here. It will give you a flat text file, so you could then copy and paste into Excel. Now, the nice thing with the pivot, the Reportlink tables is you can run these reports now from the new view, and then the information will immediately come into Excel. You can make your adjustments, and then if you need to re-import it back into Journyx, it's very easy using our import tool. So let me hit create. And so this is a system report. I selected pivot tables. So I could then go through and pull out whatever information I wanted into that rows. And so on. So I really think for these types of reports, for the system report, just the basic worksheet is probably your best bet. So let me find So here's a system report. It's a dump of all of the projects that we have listed here in the database and all of the fields that are attached to that project and so on. You can't filter these projects here because anytime you run a systems report in Journyx and you filter, it doesn't save those parameters. You would have to create it each time. But you can easily do a dump and then from there make your changes. And this file would then easily import back into Journyx. So other few things I just want to point out. You can clear the data very easily, refresh the data, almost as easy. You have to wait a little bit longer. And then just the new interface right here, which I didn't point out explicitly, but we've been using it. You select a report, you can change the tab name and the different type of report that you want to create, a pivot table or worksheet. And then from the pivot table, obviously, you can take it to your graph and so on and so forth for your dashboard. This is just a much easier way of selecting a report. You're not typing in a feed, and if you happen to misspell it, it doesn't stick its tongue out at you or so on. You have your select list to choose from. So that's it for the new features. I'm going to jump over to the questions and see if there's anything I can explain or work through. And like I said, any in-depth questions that I can't tackle right now, I'm happy to answer those later, as well as send out an email with any questions. Let me check on our questions real quick. And the only question I have at the moment is that will this be available after today? And yes, I am recording it. Hopefully they can cut the first 3 minutes of me talking without an audience, so you don't have to hear everything twice. But yes, it will be available at our community website that if you don't have logins to, please touch base with Brian Maxon and he can provide that. But honestly, I don't think you need a login to get to our community area. And I'm happy to share that email. I'll send everyone an email with that URL. It has these webinars, additional webinars, support information, and FAQs. So, and that was the question. Can you email us the instructions on how to download a report? And yes, how to download Reportlink. Yes, I absolutely can, but that's something I could show you right now. If you have access to Journyx timesheet, you just need to go to the timesheet area under Reportlink Exchange, which it is a license key enabled feature. It will not show up unless you have a Reportlink license key. And if you don't, that's something to chat with Brian Maxon or your sales rep, if Brian's not your sales rep, about, and they can help you figure that out. So you would go to Reportlink Exchange and then click on this zip file. Obviously, you download it, you open the zip file, and it will walk you through. You select it, and then you select Run. It will delete any existing or old Reportlink versions you have and install the new one. So I can also give you that information as well in an email, but pretty straightforward. to do. And if you have any questions or issues installing Reportlink, our support team is going to be your best resource to answer those questions. And they can be reached at support@journyx.com. So, okay, let me see if there are any other questions. And I will email a link to this webinar as well as information on the Reportlink and how to find it. So, okay, if there are not any other questions, I'm going to let y'all go, and thank you for joining me today. I'm a big fan of Reportlink. I think it does a lot as far as enabling and empowering you with all the data that Journyx collects and allowing you to be able to push it out into Excel and use all the yummy tools that Excel offers. So I probably will not speak to most of you prior to the holidays, so have a wonderful holiday. Hope everyone gets a little time off and stay warm. It's not going to get any warmer anytime soon. So take care, and thanks again for joining us. Goodbye.